This is a map of Seoul National University Station. And could you guess what this red line represents? This is the longest waiting queue I've ever seen for SNU shuttle bus. It extends about 200 meters, and which is about 10 times longer than the length of this classroom. And similar situations also happen in the case of bus number 5511 and 5513. Suppose you're waiting in this long queue when it is just 10 minutes before your class starts. How would you feel? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kwon Jung-woo, and our team is going to make a presentation for Application Business Proposal. I'm returning to this problem. Do you think there is any solution? My answer is yes, and the solution may be taking a taxi. Taking a taxi can save us time, and it offers more comfortable treat than buses. However, in spite of this merits, not many students are able to use taxi service so frequently because it is just expensive. According to a survey conducted by TrendMonitor in 2012, 51.7% think taxi minimum fare is expensive, and 78.2% said they would take taxi more frequently if it could be cheaper. Based on this data, we tried to think of how we can alleviate the burden of expensive taxi fare. So we came up with an idea called taxi carpool. As you already know, carpool means an arrangement between people to make a journey in a single vehicle. And stemming from this word, taxi carpool represents an arrangement to make a journey in a single taxi. In other words, by using our application, people who want to take taxi can aggregate together and share a single bus, thus lowering the cost. Basically, our presentation is divided into 4 parts. In the first part, we'll analyze the market. We'll consider whether there is enough demand for our application and whether there already exists strong competitors in the market. And in the second part, we'll explain the function of our application. That is, how the users can make use of our application and how they can make payments. And in the third profit part, we'll focus on by what system we can gain enough and sustainable profit. And in the final conclusion part, we'll summarize the overall presentation and underline the key points of our business. And if you have any question, feel free to ask after the presentation is over. So let's move on to the first part, and using part, we'll analyze the market.
Hello everybody, my name is Yujin Park. In my presentation, I'd like to give you guys an overview of the market analysis for our app Snuts. My presentation will be divided into 2 parts. The first part will be about the current market circumstances of car sharing apps. And the second part will be about the demand survey that we did on SNU students. So let's move on to the first part, the current market circumstances. Today, the most famous car sharing app is known as Uberpool. Before we move on to the part of how Uberpool did in the Korean market, I'll explain to you guys how Uberpool works for those of you who are not familiar with the system. So this is simply how Uberpool works. There are 2 Uberpool users who want to go to the same destination. If they ask for a driver through Uberpool, the car arrives and takes them to the destination. Simple, isn't it? However, this kind of system failed in the Korean market. Let's think about the reasons. So first of all, we thought that it failed because commercial use of individual cars is not allowed in Korea. And secondly, people were afraid about the potential danger of crime. Since Uberpool advertises saying that anyone can become a driver, that you can make profit using your own car, people were afraid that they might get in a taxi or a car with a driver that might be a criminal. So we, the Snuts developers, thought about a solution for each of these problems. First of all, Snuts uses taxis. Since we work within the current taxi system, we do not use individual cars, which is not a violation of the law. And also, we thought that this can alleviate the people's worries about potential danger, since we do not use unqualified drivers. And also, some people were worried that they might have to get on a cab with a total stranger. So we tried to solve this in the arrangement of mating. In the process of mating those who are in need of taxi sharing, we give priority to those who are friends of the users. And we identify friends by KakaoTalk friends and the user's address. Bonnie will explain about this procedure in detail in her part of the presentation. So let's move on to the second part, the demand survey. We received 53 replies from SNU students, and please take a look at this graph. This graph is about the average transportation fee per month. It was 82,000 won, and it took 25,000 won to take a taxi per month. So the shocking fact here is that the average taxi usage per month was only 5 times. Don't you think this is unreasonable? Only 5 times of taxi usage takes 30% of the whole month's transportation fee. We thought that SNUTS can give you a solution. And please take a look at the second graph. We asked the students if they would use SNUTS if this program was developed, and a staggering 83% answered yes. We think that this evidently shows a need for such taxi sharing apps, and that we can be successful if investors invest in our app. So until now, we looked at the market analysis, which was divided into 2 parts, the current market circumstance and the demand survey. And from now on, Bonnie will tell us how to use this app.
Hello, my name is Bonnie, and I am going to introduce the function of the app by first, how do you set up your route, and then next, who are going to be in the same car with you. And then the last part is the payment methods. So as you are looking at here is our initial page of our SNUTS app. This is a map specifically from the SNU station to the SNU campus. Our taxi stops work just like bus stops, so you can choose your destination of where you're going. So for a better view, you can just zoom in and then find your destination. Let's say I am going to the College of Law. So I just click the location mark, and then the gray arrow below allows you to confirm that, and then go into the next page. Oops. So so this is your road, and then for positioning system, you can always customize your destination as well. But as you might be aware of, it might cost longer time to match with buddies. And for those people who don't want to be in the same car with strangers, who are like more prefer to share rides with your friends, you can always link your Kakao account to the personal profile on the top right corner, which allows you to find your friends who are currently looking for a cab as well. And then you can just simply click the yellow arrow to jet them into your buddy list. And then if you don't have enough friends to share the cab with, the gray arrow also allow you to find other people who are currently looking for a cab. So this is a person that I got matched as well. And then for the person, let's say the lead 3, that's the person that I am going to share the cab, who I'm about to meet for the first time. If you're having trouble to find that person, you can simply hit the yellow phone icon to call them without knowing their number. So your privacy, such as your phone number, is always under control. For saving more time and more convenient, we also have this scheduling system which allows you to save your schedule for a daily routine, so that it will save more time and then find your buddies in advance. So let's start the trip. And then when you're ready to get off, click the blue check mark, which takes you to the payment page. So you can just input the amount of money that shows on the taximeter. Let's say is 6,000 won. And then our system will calculate your part of payment in no time. So our algorithm is simply the total amount of money when a passenger gets off divided by the total number of the passengers that's in the car. And we also have 2 payment methods, which you can pay by SNUTS points, which is an e-money that is a prepaid e-money, and then you can also pay by the credit or debit card. I will introduce about our SNUTS points. So on the top left corner, there's a little purse icon. You can link your bank account over there. So by linking your bank account, you can top up your SNUTS points. And then this transformation is bidirectionally. So you can transfer money from your bank account to SNUTS points, and then the other way as well at any time you want. So you don't need to worry about your money stuck in the app when you're not using it in a long time. And then by using the SNAPS points after every ride, you get the coupon rewards. It allows you to get discounts or benefits from any school stores and cafe. After you're ready to pay, just simply click the yellow pay button, and then the payment is received and your trip is completed. So the green arrow below allows you to go to the first page. Next, for a better and further understanding of our SNAPS application, the next presenter, Jung Ho, is going to analyze our profit structure.
Okay, so far we've looked at what SNUP is, how it works, and that it actually has an advantage over other similar applications in the market. Now, let's talk about the most important part of this whole idea. How are you going to make money? The profit structure of SNUTS is dual structured. What I mean is that there are two ways of making money. The first way is using the time gap of money flow for interest profit. Yes, it seems quite complicated, but I'll explain it later. The second one is simple, advertisement. And since advertisement is quite obvious and doesn't occupy much in the total profit, I'm not going to explain that in this presentation. Instead, I'm going to focus on analyzing the first part using the time gap of money flow. The time gap of money flow. This idea is based on using the money that doesn't belong to us, but stays in our hands for a moment. To understand this idea, you first have to fully understand the payment system of SNUTS. Let's assume A, B, C, D got on the same cab. On arrival, A pays the whole fare. B, C, D sends their fare to A. Here, B, C, D sends the money, but that money doesn't go directly to A's account. Instead, it goes to SNUT's account until A actually withdraws that money, and that's the time gap. So, the time gap between BCD's payment and A's withdrawal of that money is the moment and chance for our interest profit. Another time gap occurs when users charge e-money. Instead of using real cash for sharing their fare, users may charge prepaid e-money. And the time gap between the e-money, charging the e-money, and actually withdrawing that e-money is another chance of getting investment. This whole idea of using someone else's money and using the time gap of money flow seems quite dangerous since users may withdraw money while the money is investment. However, that money stays quite stable. Please look at this diagram. The yellow dot indicates the payment of BCD. The red dot indicates the money withdrawal of A. The horizontal line shows the time gap of money, and the vertical black line shows the period of investment. The number shows the money in SNUT's account at each period of investment. 4, 5, 5, 4, 6, 5. So the money circulates and changing. But over a maximum of 6, 4 keeps stable, and only 2 actually circulates. So 4 is a very stable constant for us, and that is our resource for actual investment and profit. So far, we've looked at the profit structure. We've looked at the profit structure of SNUTS. We've looked at the first main way, which is using the time gap of money flow for interest profit, and also the second supportive way, which I didn't really mention in this presentation, advertisement. The next presenter, Kwon Young-moo, will finish the presentation.
Okay, so far we've looked around many aspects of our business. So let me briefly summarize the overall presentation and underline the key points. First of all, the purpose of our business is to alleviate the burden of expensive cab fare. And to accomplish the purpose, our application SNUTS will aggregate people who individually want to take taxi, and it will allocate the fare depending on the amount at the point of getting off. And regarding the profit structure, it will make earnings from investment by utilizing the time gap between deposit and withdrawal, and from advertising income. So this is the end of our presentation, and thank you for listening. And if you have any question, feel free to ask.
of a similar idea, because of course, everyone thinks it would be great to ride a taxi for like 1,000 won. So I looked up if there were any precedents, and I found at least two. And one of them even included a feature for confirming that you're a student of a particular university, such as ours. And because none of us have heard of it, I think they were failures. So my question is, if you've heard of them, and if so, what makes your service different, and what will make it survive?
Actually, there are similar services like Uber Pool and other services we found in Google, but we narrowed the demand to only SNU people, and the demand of them are quite similar, which can actually condense profit. So I think it's profitable.
Yeah, to add, we actually looked for some similar apps while doing market research, and since SNU students have a common need because we always suffer from transportation, we thought that narrowing the pool to SNU students will actually enhance the probability of success. So actually, although we didn't have time, so we couldn't mention the further advancement of our app, we thought about widening the pool into other universities if we succeed in SNU. Since carpools, actually, the success of carpool apps depend on the need and the pool. The pool has to be big in order for a carpool app to succeed. So we thought that narrowing it to SNU students would actually make it possible for us to make a certain concrete pool possible for us to succeed. Specializing to SNU students.
How about availability of taxis? So, like, obviously there's huge queues of people who want to get here. Probably at like key times, like between 9 and 10 or something like that. Are there a lot of taxis available at that time that are uncharted?
Yeah, there are intersections in exit 3. So there are a lot of taxis going this way. So since it's an intersection, we can all catch taxis that come this way and this way. So I thought that we can get taxis such easily.
I have another question. It's related to the taxis. Wouldn't taxi drivers not like such a system?
Yeah, we are going to make a contract with the taxi company because that's another problem because we're actually proposing a business proposal, and we thought that if we make a contract with the taxi company and persuade them that it will actually increase their profit because some people might not actually use taxis but begin using taxis by our app. So we thought that if we persuade them enough that they can make more profit if they make contract with our app, it will be possible.
So it's the bus companies who'd be in there.
Well, since most people ride it alone, and by your proposal, 3 or 4 people would ride it, then there would have to be 3 or 4 times the people who are willing to ride taxis. Simply put, do you think it would create that much extra demand?
Because it lowers the cost by 1/5, we calculated, so I think that would be possible.
So it would encourage people to do that instead of taking the bus
Yeah,
or instead of walking.
it's impossible to walk from the station to the school.
Any other
Actually,
questions?
taking the cab with 4 people is sometimes more cheaper than taking the bus. A bus fare for a normal person is 1,250. Times 4 is 5,000, but sometimes it only costs 4,000 or 4,500 to come to the university. So if 4 people gets on the cab, it could actually be more cheaper than taking the bus individually.
Okay, final question then. I really like the idea of, I can't remember what you called it, but using the time that the money's in your hands to get interest. I suppose that's what PayPal does, right?
Yes, PayPal and a Korean program called TOS uses that mechanism.
But what if your investments don't work out?
Excuse me?
Like, what kind of investments would you make with the money that you think would enable you to make a healthy profit?
Stock. As I have experience in investment, there are things that are safe enough but higher than bank interest for investment. So that can earn you about 7 to 10% a year.
Mm. Okay. We should talk later on. Any other questions? Okay.
How much asset do you think you'll be able to run?
You didn't really calculate that. Sorry. It was just we didn't really calculate all the specific statistics, and we just gave the idea of a business.